And we're live. Good evening from Portman Road. Stuart Watson here to talk to you ahead of Ipswich Town's latest championship clash, and it's against Bristol City. A chance for Kieran McKenna's men, temporarily at least, to move back up to second in the table. That's because Middlesbrough aren't in action until tomorrow night, and it's a chance to keep building some momentum. 4 straight wins in all competitions for Ipswich now after that 3-0 victory against Blackburn here on Saturday. Big narrative around this game, of course, is the return of Sam Morsey, the former skipper, the beating heart of the side, the man who drove Ipswich Town to back-to-back promotions. And guess what? He's on the bench, but we'll get on to that in a minute. Good evening to you all. Start greeting a few of you. Dino, evening from the West Stand. Hello, Dino. Joby 1, come on the boys. Simple, absolutely. James, hello. Oh, Burns starting. Yeah, boy. Yes, Wes Burns is starting. It's his first league start in almost a year, virtually a year to the day. The 25th of January was when he suffered that ACL injury at Anfield last year. He's had one start, of course, since making his comeback. That was in the FA Cup against Blackpool, and now he gets a league start here tonight. It's part of a bit of a midweek rotation from Kieran McKenna. It's been a much more settled side over recent weeks and months, but Saturday, Tuesday, he's decided to mix things up just a little bit tonight. 4 changes, that's one of them. We'll come on to the rest in a moment. A few more of your thoughts. Evening stew from a frigid New York City, says Nikolai there. Excited to see Burns starting. Yeah, me too. James, surprised Morsey is on the bench. But because know that we know his game inside out, maybe that's part of it. Yeah. Right, let's get into the team news. And let's go the opposite way round to usual. Let's start with the visitors. Let's start with Bristol City because of that big Sam Morsey narrative. They drew 0-0 at Oxford at the weekend. They've made one change. Gerhard Struber, the Austrian, has made one change to that, and it's Morsey who drops out after all the talk of him coming back here tonight. He's the one that drops out. Mark Sykes is the one that replaces him. That will mean a little bit of a reshuffle because that's a right-sided player, a right wing-back coming in for a central midfielder. Probably means that Zach Viner moves into midfield and Sykes on the right. So their team is a 3-4-3 formation. I'll read it out in full. It's Radek Vitek in goal, a back 3 of... let's have a look. George Turner, Rob Dickey, and Rob Atkinson. Fair bit of height in that back 3 for Bristol City. Midfield 4 of Mark Sykes, right wing back. Adam Randall. We think Viner in central midfield. Zach Viner moving inside. Who else have we got? Neto Borges on the left. And then a front 3 of Scott Twine, Emil Rees, and Anis Mehmeti on the left-hand side. That is a proper championship front 3. That's a good championship front 3 of Twine, Rees, Mehmeti. Mehmeti, someone who's been linked to Ipswich in the last couple of days in the build-up to this one. He's a fleet-footed, skillful, left-sided player, right-footed, likes to cut inside. He plays a sort of a left 10 for Bristol City in this system. He's out of contract in the summer, so a chance for somebody to get him a bit of a cut price deal. Talented championship player, no doubt about it. Do Ipswich need a right-footed left-sider full of skill? I guess the only argument would be if Jaden Philogene is out for a decent chunk of time. Even if that is the case, I'm not sure they do. They've got Jack Clark, they've got Sammy Schmodix, who played that role in the Premier League last season. I think money can be better spent elsewhere, personally. So, yeah, let's get on to the Ipswich team because I've looked ahead to Jaden Philogene there. So let's go through the team. 4 changes from the team that beat Blackburn at the weekend, or started the game against Blackburn. In Wes Burns, as we've mentioned, Jens Giusta, Jack Clark, and Eben Azon. The three to drop out are Jack Taylor in midfield, Sindre Valet-Gelly on the right, Jaden Philogene, who limped off with that knee injury at the weekend against Blackburn in the first half, and George Hurst, who's only just come back from a little groin injury himself. The other three are on the bench. Philogene out the squad completely. We're still waiting on an update on that. We'll find out more post-match from Kieran McKenna. I don't know if he's going to say anything to Town TV ahead of kickoff. Alex Jones is listening in on that as we speak, so we'll bring some news on that as and when we can. Hopefully that's not too bad. He was at least able to walk from the pitch. If you remember, Jaden Philogene did his MCL at Chelsea, I think it was, in the Premier League towards the back end of last season. So we'll wait for an update on Jaden Philogene. What do we make of that as a starting lineup then for Ipswich? I'll go through it in full. Walton, Furlong, O'Shea, Kipre Davis. Midfield two of Matasiwa, still one booking away from that 2-match ban, and Jens Kajusta, and then Burns, Nunez, Jack Clark in behind even Azon, and then, as per usual, a strong old bench from Ipswich Town: Palmer, Gelly, Hurst, Taylor, Young, Johnson, McAteer, Schmodix and Greaves. So there is some attacking arsenal to call upon from Kieran McKenna. Right. Kingy, you've done the job for me. Town TV saying a knock. I assume that means you're talking or referring to Philogene there. A knock doesn't sound too bad, does it? Hopefully that is a minor one. As I say, at least he was able to walk off the pitch at the weekend. There was no point taking any chances with the 10-goal top goal scorer who's been in red-hot form for Ipswich this season, especially when you've got Jack Clark as a man to step into his boots. So, I will listen back to that Town TV interview in a moment with Kieran McKenna, and we'll bring you some more online post-match when we get to speak to the Blues boss. Justin, evening all up in town. Stuart there asking about how bad is Philogene. Weeks, don't know yet, Stuart, as I've just said. Hopefully not too bad. Christopher here. McKenna will use Taylor at some point. I'm sure he will. Jens Kajusta looked like he'd lost his place to Jack Taylor for a spell, didn't he? Over the autumn, early winter period, Jack Taylor was the regular starter in midfield, and he was looking a better bet than Jens Kajusta for a while. Jens Kajusta, for all his talents, perhaps wasn't doing the nitty-gritty, the ugly side of it, the covering the fullback, all of that sort of stuff. For every little nice spin and driving run, I think was being outweighed by some of the other stuff. And Jack Taylor's come in, been a bit more of a system player. He's showed a bit more bite in that midfield. But Jens has got back in over Christmas. He started 3 of the 4 games either side of Christmas, and particularly here at Portman Road, I think he's added a bit more to the attack. He's got that ability to drive and carry the ball through the heart of the pitch, and he came on at the weekend against Blackburn and played a big part in the 3rd goal, didn't he? Of course, with not the assist but the pre-assist, driving and putting a pass on a plate for Wes Burns to cut back to Schmodix. So nice bit of competition there in midfield, nice bit of competition in several places across this team. Now we've been talking about Greaves versus Kipper at left-sided centre-half, Philogene and Clark on the left side. It'd be the more and more positions in the team that we're having that conversation, the better. Now Burns and Gelly is becoming a bit of a conversation as Wes gets his fitness going. Delighted to see that he doesn't look like he's lost any of his pace. That was a big concern of mine, a year out, knee injury. Big part of his game is acceleration and straight line speed, and how would that be affected? Well, at the weekend and in some of the cameos he's had back, he still looks like he's got that turn of pace. And there's an argument that Burns is more effective in this team. He's not quite as fancy as Gelly, and he's obviously not got the same high ceiling as Gelly is hopefully going to have in the future. But at the moment, that straight line dart, simple, effective, no cut back into the box, is going to help Ipswich score some of those familiar goals of old from the promotion season. Fingers crossed. Any more? Let's have a little chat and a little look back to the reverse game between these sides at Ashton Gate back in late September. Finished 1-1. Rob Atkinson, big centre half, rose highest over several Ipswich Town players to head home at a corner in the first half. Bristol City then sat back and played counter-attacking football. Ipswich had a lot of the ball, didn't have a great deal of penetration. It was one of those sort of nights, and they needed a penalty to equalise in the end. Softish. I can't remember who it was. I think it was. It's not starting tonight. Can't remember. Someone ran across the heels of Tuba Akpom in the box. I thought it was Stonewall at the time. I saw the replays back. He might have bought it a little bit. It doesn't matter. Jack Clark tucked it away. It finished 1-1. And I think that was a good point. And Kieran McKenna felt that on the night at the time. And over the course of the season, I think that is still looking like a good point for Ipswich on the road. Bristol City, playoffs last season, and that is the goal again for them this time around. They're currently 9th in the table. After some pretty patchy form of late, you don't know what you're going to get from Bristol City at the moment. I'll run through their last 5 results. Drew 0-0 at Oxford at the weekend, and by all accounts that was fairly uninspiring. Game before that, they thumped Watford 5-1 in the FA Cup with a pretty strong side that they named it that. Before that, they lost 2-0 at home to Preston. The game before that, they smashed Portsmouth 5-0 at home. And the game before that, they lost 2-1 at Millwall. So one step forward, one step back. It's been that sort of season for them if you look back through their results. But they're up there, and the gap to Ipswich isn't that great in the table. I'm just having a look at it. Ipswich on 47, Bristol City 7 points back, obviously having played an extra game in there. But it's a pretty tight championship table, and Bristol City are in the mix for another top 6 finish. As I say, that's certainly a very good-looking front 3 today that can cause Ipswich some issues. McCrory, that's it. Thank you, Sam. I'll give you that. McCrory who gave away. Ross McCrory gave away that penalty on Tuba Akpom. Thank you. James, good to see the solid base starting consecutive games. Yeah, that back 4 I think is pretty nailed on now, isn't it? Furlong I think is going to start pretty much every game between now and the end of the season, injuries and suspensions permitting. It looks like O'Shea Kidbray is the back 2 as well as Greaves has been when he's come in. Davis at left back, as good as Greaves looked at left back when he stepped in for the FA Cup game. That looks like the back 4. It's Walton's shirt to lose. Since Palmer's got injured, he's come in and been brilliant. I think his commanding of the box has been great. At the weekend, he didn't have any saves to make. Blackburn didn't have a shot on target, but he's came and collected some high crosses and took the pressure off nicely. This is a game where he's going to need to do that again. I've talked about the set piece threat and the height in the Bristol City defence. Hopefully he's going to come and do that, and he's been pretty good with the ball at his feet as well. If you look back at 2 of the goals against Blackburn at the weekend, they started with Christian Walton playing the ball out from the back. So that back 5 looks nailed on. Matasiwa, again, if he's fit, if he's not suspended, he starts at the base of that midfield. And that is the solid base that you've talked about. And then it's a case of Kayusta or Taylor alongside him. And then the front 4 is going to rotate a fair amount, especially during these midweek sort of, or these Saturday, Tuesday weeks. But Nunez is the man that's made the 10 his own. Right wing is up for grabs. Left wing is up for grabs, although it's going to be Philogene more often than not. And then will it be Hurst once he gets up to speed again? Generally starting as the number 9, I think so. Another chance for Azon. I thought he looked pretty rusty when he came on the game before last, had some loose touches. And then against Blackburn at the weekend, I thought he looked really lively off the bench. He won some headers. He was full of hustle and bustle. He was unfortunate with an offside decision where he nearly rounded the goalkeeper. So it's another opportunity for him tonight. And of course, we're in the latter stages now of a January transfer window where Ipswich may or may look to sign a striker. So anyone who starts during this period should have an extra little bit of motivation at this moment in time. A couple more before we wrap things up. Christopher Gummer, can you see Palmer coming back in? Not at this moment in time. No, it's been proven, isn't it? He's been fit. He's been back on the bench for a little while. but Kieran McKenna has stuck with the man that's in for Christian Walton. As I say, it's his shirt to lose at the moment. And I don't think even a one-game wobble would be enough for him to lose his spot at the moment. I think it would have to be a prolonged period of poor form for Kieran McKenna to make that change. Palmer came back in for the Cup, and at the moment, Cup games probably looks like his most likely route to minutes, and rightly so. As good as Palmer was, Walton's been just as good, and he deserves to keep his place. Remember, Walton only lost his spot, really, through an injury going into that championship promotion season. Baggy got in, stayed in, and the rest is history. And I think Palmer wouldn't have been signed if Walton hadn't got injured during the January transfer window in the Premier League when Muric lost his place, and then Walton was so unfortunate to get injured at the time he did. So he's due a bit of fortune, is Christian Walton, and he's taken his chance with both hands, as all good goalkeepers should. I think that's everything. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Looking forward to this. I'll finish on a prediction. As I say, you don't know what you're going to get from Bristol City. They've got set-piece threat, counter-attacking threat. I think they've got some good attacking players in there. But I have to back Ipswich at the moment. Just feel like they're starting to find a little bit of a groove. Players, we talked about the early part of the season, getting through that bedding in process, finding a bit of chemistry, and I think Ipswich have started slowly to find that. I don't think they've completely cracked it yet, but they're looking more like a team at the moment, and they've got depth for these sort of busy periods. I'm going with a narrow Ipswich win. I've gone for 2-1. I'm regretting my first goal scorer pick of George Hurst, seeing as he's on the bench. Opens the door for Ross, Mark and Alex to close the gap in the predictions league, which I'm just about away in front on at the moment. I think 3 of the boys have gone for wins. Ross has gone for a draw tonight. I can see why. But 2-1. I'll go for 2-1. Remember, the last time here against Bristol City was a hell of a game. It was towards the back end of that promotion season. It kind of gets forgotten about a little bit because of the Southampton game on Easter Monday, but this was equally dramatic. Ipswich were behind twice in that game. Chaplin equalised late on. Al Hamidi saw a poor penalty miss, and there was still time for Leif Davis to win it at the death, and that was such a big moment. That was the memorable bit of commentary from the Sky commentator. If you think Ipswich Town are going to wither away in this promotion race, then think again. Are we set for more drama here tonight? Are we set for more entertainment? I hope so. Let's hope Ipswich can keep things going. Enjoy it if you're watching it here. Enjoy it if you're watching it at home on TV. And if you're not, the live blog is up and running on the website with text updates from myself. Join me if you can. And I'll see you on the other side.